Hi, welcome. I think we're having people join, so we'll just give a few minutes
Hmm.
to let to let you come on the line before we get started. So we'll give it a couple more minutes. Maybe we'll just give 1 minute while people are still joining.
Most of the participants are people from your
We're
foundation,
actually
from
live
Ishdag.
with the participants, so
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just asking.
uh,
Most of
sorry.
them are people from your foundation.
We have a good mix of people, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's get started. Thank you very much for people. Thank you everybody for joining us. We have a really good program for today. I'm Charlene Seidel. I'm Executive Vice President of the Leash Foundation, and I also head Impact Cubed. And we're really pleased to be holding the Israel Emergency Grassroots Response Initiative. It launches off our 10-year history of giving in the grassroots in Jerusalem. We have focused on Jerusalem, and now we see that the grassroots response and really the civilian draft, as we've been describing it, has been one of the hallmarks of the response to this crisis. Since the early hours, volunteers and grassroots activists from across sectors, and we'll speak about tonight or today, it's evening here in Israel, we're gonna deep dive into the Charedi, the ultra-Orthodox Jewish sector, have really stepped up to help those whose lives have been torn apart from the very beginning. And we are very proud to be supporting that in the Israel Grassroots Response Initiative. Every so often we send out every 10 days, we send out different priority needs because needs are changing so fast here on the ground. And earlier this week, we sent out 5 kind of updated needs, and I'll just review them quickly before we start because we're going to deep dive into one of them today. So the first is the second phase support for the evacuees. We have about 200,000 evacuees that mostly have come from the south. Some of them have been mandatorily evacuated. Some have evacuated themselves because they feel so vulnerable where they are, and they may be getting rocket attacks and have such trauma from where they are in the country. Many of them have ended up in Jerusalem. Some of them are in the Dead Sea. Some of them are at the Dead Sea. Some of them are in Eilat, and they've been all over the country. And what we're seeing is now that they're kind of more settled in hotels or in neighborhoods or wherever they found themselves, now the focus is on education. We've seen a number of pop-up schools that are actually being supported by our grassroots response initiative come up that have been run by volunteers, and now we're kind of like looking at what the solutions are or what the shorter term plans, the midterm plans are for education. High school students have been particularly affected among the evacuated. There haven't been any proper educational frameworks for them. So there's a focus on both informal and formal programs, sports programs, as well as trying to really facilitate the people that have been displaced and will be probably for at least a few months a little bit more autonomy over their own lives. So providing them gift cards, providing them vouchers rather than meals that are preset and preset times. There's a real effort to do that, and I see that as a real new phase here on the ground that will continue. The effects, as we've talked about before, of this catastrophe on the whole population is sort of in trauma in some way or another. One of the key target populations that we're focusing on first are the first responders. That means the medics, that went out there October 7th, 8th, 9th, saw horrifying scenes, tried their best to be of help, and sometimes put themselves at risk. There is an amazing organization called Zakah that actually is an ultra-Orthodox organization that collect human remains after terror attacks, and really went down there in full force and are continuing in many cases to, sadly, 5 weeks later, do this. And the trauma and the mental health needs are profound, as well as reservists who save lives and others. So that's another key need area at the moment. The volunteers also, we are in the second phase. We are 5 weeks in. People are tired. I mean, like, it's been go, 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 fight or flight. I think, we'll hear a little bit more about that later. And so some people are starting to think about going back to their jobs, or are going back to their jobs. Some have lost their jobs during this time. So we're working really to figure out and to sort of understand better, what are the needs of volunteers? What kinds of training or even small appreciations can we give these thousands of volunteers who have stepped up, even like small meals or childcare, in some cases stipends, but that's a real key need. Releasing the hostages will be on every list of our priority needs until they're released. We feel like, and we've talked about this in prior weekly programs, this is one of the most important things we can be doing as Jews and as human beings. And so we are working very closely with the Hostage and Missing Persons Forum, and we've previously circulated information about that. We've sent out the website that tells all their stories, and encourage everybody to read those stories, get to know a few of them, be their ambassador. They can't really speak for themselves right now. We must give them names and faces, because this is really the most important thing we can do. And finally, but really most importantly for tonight, we've highlighted what has been an amazing turnaround, and I think I'm going to defer to our amazing, our really wonderful guest, who I really appreciate being here tonight, to talk more about this. But I would say, like, Ellie and I were in a meeting just not too long ago that was sort of about the judicial reform protests, and there was a lot of polarization, even in that meeting, even in that microcosm. There was discussion about the role of the ultra-Orthodox in society, the role of the and this has, I have to say, it's really taken that off the table. The ultra-Orthodox community has stepped up in many, many incredible ways that we'll talk about more tonight. It seems to be seeing the IDF, the Israel Defense Force, differently, and its role in the security of the country differently, and vice versa. I've heard from many, many senior army and security officials how they're looking at the Charedi community as a pool of talent that they hadn't fully appreciated before. So really, really looking forward to diving into this a little bit tonight. So first, I want to introduce our first guest, Ellie Pillay. Ellie is the publisher and the owner of Mishpacha newspaper and media company, which is the largest, or one of the largest, Charedi periodicals in the world. It publishes in both Hebrew and English. I know I've seen it in homes of my family members, much read. And in this role, I've really admired, I've been a big fan of Ellie for years, because you've really taken on social challenges and subjects that sometimes were considered less talked about in the ultra-Orthodox community, to heighten awareness, to alleviate stigma, but doing it in a very appropriate way for the ultra-Orthodox mindset, and with a healthy respect for the traditions. Ellie's also the founder of the Charedi Institute for Public Affairs in Jerusalem, and a leading philanthropist and a social activist. We actually first met through the Jewish Funders Network. So thank you so much for being with us, Ellie. And before we delve into this topic of the response after the massacre on October 7th, I think it would be helpful for you just to say a few more words about yourself, and specifically how you came to be in this position as a publisher, as an influencer, and how you saw yourself as a social activist as well.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, there is a mutual appreciation about the work that you are doing. And I'm not taking it for granted to see people who are devoting their energy and time just to encourage and to help these kind of initiatives. It's super, super important in terms of the support and also in terms of the sense of unity between the large Jewish community in the world. Very quickly about myself, I was born in Yerushalayim 58 years ago in a Charedi family. My family from my father's side came to state of Israel or the land of Israel. It was before the state in 1924 from Lithuania and Russia to the city of Hebron to establish the yeshiva there, which my grandfather and my great-grandfather was a Rebbe there, and they were there till 1929, the big massacre Tarpat in the city of Hebron. Then the yeshiva moved to Yerushalayim, and this is the famous yeshiva today, Yeshivat Hebron, called after the yeshiva that started there. And my youngest son is now learning in Yeshivat Hebron. He's 18 years old. I learned in the yeshiva. And I mention it because this is part of the legacy that I grew up with. We came here with a very strong sense of making sure that the continuation of the Jewish heritage and Torah will flourish in Eretz Israel. And I see it as my life mission. I also grew up in a family. My father was a very social activist, not in my way, in the old-fashioned way, meaning he was a one-man show that even early when he was a young guy. Just yesterday, I met here, I'm living now in Shaarei Chesed in Jerusalem, and I met a guy that was a former judge in the States, and he came over to me just yesterday evening. He said, "You are the son of Yudke?" That was his nickname, Yehuda, Yudke. And he said, 50, how many years ago? Yeah, 60 years ago, I was working with your father in the new immigrants came, people who came from Morocco and Yemen, and walking through them and helping them to get their kids to Jewish schools and Torah schools. So my father was active since he was very young, and he passed away 11 years ago. And then I decided to start our family foundation. And since then, I'm focusing mainly on my social activity. Just one word about the publication. Over the last more than 3 decades, I am running and I'm the owner of the largest printed media group called Mishpacha, which is an international media group. We have both Hebrew and English weekly publications for kids, for adults, for women, food, and whatever, podcasts and many other areas. Today it's became really very large. And part of our business vision was always not just to sell papers, was really to address, as you.
Oh, Ellie, you're on mute.
Address.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, sorry, was interrupted by a telephone. To address social issues in our society. So, as I said, I grew up in a family that always was very social oriented. So our publication over the years became a voice, a very unique voice in our society. As you mentioned, on one hand, very devoted to our values and the core values of the Haredi society and the beauty of the special values of the community, but always with one eye open to see what are the challenges that needs to be addressed. And always we were one step ahead in terms of addressing issues like kids at risk and divorce and abuse and other areas as well. So moving from the daily work at the publication to our charity was very natural continuation. I just took the focus to a different way to accomplish the same vision, which is to focus on making sure that the Haredi society will continue to flourish, but at the same time, making sure that the Haredi society will become part of the big Jewish society. And as you know, Charlene, this is, I think, maybe the biggest challenge, because the two communities, the Haredi and the non-Haredi, are the two great communities that I always saying I have two big loves, the Haredi society and the Israeli or the Jewish society, but my two loves are not talking to each other. And that takes me to start to see, based on my experience and my passion and my ability, to see what can we do in terms to create strategic thinking about areas that we can create a better unity between Haredi and non-Haredi, where Haredi society can contribute to the rest of the Jewish people in the state of Israel. And I'm mentioning not just the state of Israel. I'm talking, they have so much to offer also to the Jewish peoplehood with their values, with their community models and education models. There is so much going on in the society that I think can be affecting in a good way the rest of the Jewish community. And also the Charedi society can gain so much from the rest of the Jewish people. And this is what I'm trying to do in the past 10 years, partially successfully. This is, okay,
Amazing.
that's my short, yeah.
Thank you. So moving to the events of the last few weeks, you recently wrote an op-ed, which we actually circulated with the invitation, about Charedi civil society and the role of Charedim that has proven now incredibly important and relevant in the aftermath of the crisis. So maybe you could just share a little bit more about that.
Mm-hmm. So that's really one of the great examples of what I was trying to accomplish over the past 10 years, which is, you saw there is many organizations and foundations in the government who are having some effort to try to change things in the Haredi society, but coming with a very narrow perspective, which is, okay, we see that there is a gap between the let's say, working rate in the Haredi society or poverty. So let's see what can we do. I rarely find people are coming with an approach of saying, let's see what the Haredi society have to contribute, what they already accomplished, and they can contribute. And this is what always, again, as I said, we have to focus about the needs and the areas that needs to be improvement, but not to miss what the Haredi society can offer, and they can offer so much to the Jewish people. And the example of the Jewish civil society organization, I think it's one of the great examples about the startup nation of the Haredi world. The startup nation Haredi world is to create startups in a social innovation, okay? Organizations like Yad Sarah or Zaka or Yichud Hatzalah, who changed the entire attitude about first aid in the state of Israel, comparing to the model that MADA was functioning. Today, MADA is adapting almost everything that was created, and which is, in Hebrew, we say, Kinat Sofrim Tarbe Chochma. It's good that there is some competition, so people are making themselves better. Or organizations like Matnat Chaim, who are dealing with kidney contributions. And in so many other areas, you see the focus in the startup nation of the Haredi world is to create huge organizations with a very sophisticated way to help and to impact and to do chesed and help the society. And here is where, this is what I was saying by the time of the COVID, and now it's even stronger, when we're looking at the war, and definitely we will have to do an analysis about the whole structure and concept of the Israeli security philosophy or strategy. And one of the main lessons that we already can take with us is the huge impact of the civil society. What happened in the first day of the massacre in October 7, we can't imagine how it would look like without the huge contribution of these organizations like Yichud Hatzalah, from rescuing hundreds of people, including operating with helicopters and ambulance and getting into the fire and etc. Comparing to all the establishment system that took very long time to start to wake up and to see what can we do, following with what Zaka was doing, following to see what's going on today with the civil society organizations who are distributing tens of millions of dollars in a very sophisticated and efficient way, and tens of thousands of volunteers. And my call in my article was that thinking about the new structure of the Israeli security or social security or social strengths, we have to take into account what the Haredi organizations can offer. How can we empower it? How can we scale it? How can we integrate it into the big picture of creating a strategic plan for emergency and security? That's great example, not to say, okay, Haredim, you are great. Just saying, one of the comments I got from people, yes, with all due respect, but by the time that other people are giving their lives in Gaza, so you are doing great things. And no, I didn't compare, and I admire the soldiers. And I think all the Haredi society is now in different position, understanding and the heroes, the holy heroes of our soldiers, boys and girls. And everybody wants to be part of it. And you see it every evening, they're going and dancing with the soldiers and bringing steaks and hugging them, whatever. But the point wasn't to say, we are Haredim, we're doing, no, I'm just saying, let's see what we Haredim can have that can really contribute for the benefit of our society. And I think this is one of the lessons that I believe we will take with us from this war, that every community learn to see what the other community and what other people can bring to the strengths of the Jewish people.
So I want to just kind of dive into that, especially around security and the military, because I think when I talk to more secular people, they're really surprised and they feel like, oh my goodness, the Haredim, they're seeing the IDF with such more respect, and they understand, more about them. And, we certainly know that many, many more now ultra-Orthodox are drafting in the army just since October 7th, and they're taking on civilian duties. And we see them delivering food to the bases. And like you said, really appreciating the military in ways that at least the perception has been, and that's where I want to ask you the question, the perception has been that there wasn't the depth of appreciation or even respect for the military before in the Haredi community. So my question is, do you think there's been a change? And if so, why? Or do you think the perception has just changed and there's been kind of a misunderstanding all along?
I think both. Meaning, for sure, the event of October 7th changed the entire Israeli and Jewish society, including the Haredi society. I'm talking to my son in yeshiva, and the conversation in yeshiva about what our role in a time before hundreds of thousands of Israelis, young and adults and fathers and mothers who are giving their lives to the security of Israel, how can we be part of it? Not by not appreciating what we are contributing in terms of the strengths of the Jewish people and believing that continuing to learn Torah and pray for the soldiers and pray for the security of Israel is important. But as my son phrased it to me, he said, Abba, I know and I believe, and we're doing efforts to pray and to daven. And in the yeshiva, they have a list of soldiers that every boy should take a name and daven and pray specifically for a specific soldier. So that creates a sense of being together and responsibility. But he said, Abba, but I feel by conversations with my friends that they are expecting to something more. Meaning, we see how people are sacrificing their lives for the Jewish nation, for the Jewish people, and we would like to find in what way we can do it. And the answer is not, the way to do it, go to the army, because they understand they also have a role in what they are doing in yeshivot, but they want to create a better synergy and a better connection. And this is definitely a time of a change, a time of appreciation. You see it from both sides. You see how the Haredi society and the Yeshivalite are really talking like in respect and holiness about these people. I'll give you just one story that I heard today and I was so moved. There is a group of Hasidei Charlene, that I mentioned to you that I want you to meet.
That's like Hasids that follow the Carlin tradition, just to kind of explain what that is. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting them.
It's really unbelievable. I was amazed to see the Rebbe, the Carlin Rebbe told their people, now you have to leave everything and to do all you can do to help the soldiers and to help the evacuated, or let's call them the refugees, whatever we will call them. And since then, thousands of volunteers, including going to agriculture, helping the farmers, going to helping soldiers. There is 1,500 Haredi women. They are going every Friday to meet with wives that their husbands are in army, to bring them challah and cake and a personal letter. 1,500 Haredi Hasidic beside the girls are working with Hannah. So just imagine what does it mean. But the most moving story that I heard was the day brought next, how you say sharsheret? Necklace?
Necklace, maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah, necklace.
Yeah, okay.
To the soldiers on the border of Gaza. The Karlin, again, the Karlin ladies both give personal gift to every one of these girls who are the Tatzpitaniot, the girls who are standing
The
on the border
female
and watching.
soldiers, like on the
The
border,
female soldiers.
border
Can you
patrol.
imagine? Can
Wow.
you imagine Karlin giving them gift of appreciation? So that's for sure. This is from the Haredi side. And from the other side, I'm getting so again and again commanders or calling to their friends and to their family and say, please pray for us. We need your prayers. We need your Torah. Please keep learning because we need you. So you see a new environment and a new way of both sides coming with appreciation. And Charlene, this is the key. The main problem to have the conversation about what Haredi can contribute to the security of Israel was that it always came with underestimating or even like not taking seriously, say, okay, with all due respect, what you're doing in yeshiva, do it fair, go do national service. And this is not a healthy way to have the conversation. Haredi society feel that they have a crucial role in the continuation of the Jewish future by making sure that we'll continue to have people who are devoted to Torah and Jewish tradition. And the conversation can happen only when each side, well, the Haredi will say, Mishaberach lechayalei tzahal, they pray for the Chayalei tzahal, and you see more and more synagogues that they are adapting, not just saying Tehillim, this is always we did, but adapting even the formula of mentioning and davening specifically, praying specifically about the soldiers, and to see soldiers who are saying, we appreciate so much what you're doing, please keep doing it because we need you. The Jewish nation needs the fighters, the soldiers, and need the people who are praying and davening. That was always a Jewish tradition. And this is really a moment of uplifting about the opportunity that they can bring in the future.
That's so interesting as you talk about the mutual understanding. One of the areas that I think we were both involved in funding before this, and I think that there's great promise to grow it, is taking the unique talents of the ultra-Orthodox community. So like example, Talmudic study. I came to find out a couple years ago when we started being involved, is very like some of the skills you need in analysis is similar to coding, and some of the jobs like needed in that tech area, but especially coding, and other that is actually going to be much needed for the Israeli economy. It's going to have a lot of work to do, after this war, but it's not going to be able to get by without more talent in that space. And so
Absolutely.
I maybe you could just talk a little bit about that in particular, because it's a very interesting angle of something that really the ultra-Orthodox are bringing a unique adaptability for.
Yeah, so you mentioned, which is, by the way, very true, people who are seriously going over the syllabus, the curriculum of Talmudic studies are really becoming super sophisticated. They sometimes can miss some other skills. Maybe they can miss English, they can miss some other skills, but they are getting an amazing skills that can be relevant to different areas. I would just share with you that in America, the Ivy League universities are giving a special credibility for boys from yeshiva to go to law school and other schools, and they can really get huge credit for the Talmudic background, which didn't happen yet in Israel. So that's a great example about where that can be a game changer. And what we're focusing on is really to try to see what are the areas that even Haredim who are joining in a late stage in their life that want to join the workforce will get the best training model to really maximize their potential. High tech, I think, is a great example. But again, high tech is a big word, a big name. Specifically, we did a big research, as you know, 3 years ago. We conducted big research together with Maimonides, Wertheimer, some other foundations to try to analyze what kind of training really brings the results that we're expecting. The government was spending endless amount of money to different boot camps and which there is no shortcuts. If you want to be serious in this competitive industry, you have to be trained very well. We're amazed to find, by the way, that the best training program was the Israeli IDF, the Israeli army. We find from all the programs that we met, the best results were people who came with zero background and went to the train in the army, the technology units, and got 2 years of experience. And based on this, we recommended the model. This model was adopted by the JBH, which is an amazing high-tech company that trains Charedi men. And we create the shidduch, the match between the army and them. And this is a great example where the potential, the high-tech potential and the security needs are coming together. There is a program that's called Code. So what they did, the first cohort, it's a 6 months training before the army, and then those people are going for 2 years on a citizen without uniforms. They can stay in their neighborhoods, but going to serve for 80 to 100 units. The first cohort was 120 people. Over 88% of them after 6 months were adopted by the 80 to 100 unit. Now
just to jump in, for those who may not know, the 8200 unit is like the premier intelligence unit in the army.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Which is amazing. Now I'm talking even before the war. The army asked us to speed, they want to get to thousands a year. So the next cohort, which we're going to begin very soon, we are already have over 200. By the way, we got over 2,000 applications. By the way, after the war, we got another push that people felt now it's about time that we should join, but this is really an opportunity, not just to be a drivers or very low level jobs. We can do something significant. So we got 2,000 applications for mainstream Haredi, Hasidic, and Yeshivish and others. We hope to start this cohort with 250 Haredi people, and the goal is to get to 1,000 a year. So that's an example how, as you mentioned, we can take the potential and the talent without underestimating what they are doing in yeshiva, and said, okay, at the time that you are ready to come, we have a program for you, not just to be a low-level employee. You can really do something to contribute to the security of Israel, and at the same time to make a future for your finance potential.
So Eli, like this is clearly, I mean, this has been the most painful, most troubling and heartbreaking. This is a crisis of a magnitude that we've never seen before in the 75-year history of the state. And so, and this is I don't know if you can call it a bright spot, but this is an interesting development that came out of something nobody would have ever wanted. This appreciation that you were talking about before, the mutual appreciation between the security forces, the Israeli society, the Charedi society, understanding each other more, understanding what we would like to do is keep that going, of course, beyond this crisis, and keep that. I guess that's a much longer conversation, but even if you had to like identify maybe one challenge and then also like one opportunity, or what is your vision in a few words or in a few sentences about like how that can happen and how we can maybe each have a part in helping make that happen.
Thank you. I'm not sure. I think I shared with you the one page that I wrote about our national security plan that we are working on right now. If you can check, and maybe later even you can distribute it among the people who participate the Zoom. But right now, since the October 7, my main focus is really to address this issue. This is something that as I mentioned, I'm working in the past few years to try to address the challenges of the security of Israel. And the framing is very important. I didn't deal with the issue, how can we create a formula of getting Haredi partially going to the army? This is something that has to do with many layers of the tension and the mistrust and the narratives in the Israeli society, which I never saw that I have something to contribute. But to address the challenges of the security is something that everybody, no matter if you're Haredi or non-Haredi, cares about it, and we have to do what we can do. So the first focus really was to see how can we contribute to the strengths of the Israeli technology security. And I mentioned the MEN program, but we started 4 years ago with the Paul Singer Foundation, a program to train Haredi girls, and the syllabus for their studies, the vocational training was written with top leaders of the industry, including a top officer for the 8200 unit, meaning the steering committee to write the syllabus was including a representative from 8200 unit that he was focusing on what areas they want these girls to be trained in order that in the future they will be able to work on a citizen model, but to work for the army. And as you all aware, there is today hundreds of Haredi girls who are integrating into these technology units in the Air Force and 8200 unit, in the police, Mossad, and others. So part of our strategic work today is to see how can we maximize this and really to understand from the security area what are the real needs and how can we create a 5-year plan or 10-year plan to fulfill it. And the other, and I'll conclude with this, is really the challenges at the home front. There is definitely we will have to reevaluate the whole concept of the security of the home front. This is the lesson that we got a wake-up call already by Shomer HaChomot by 3 years ago. How you call it, the guard of the walls? How do you call Shomer HaChomot? When it was the big Arab attack on Charedi, on mixed cities, and then we saw that the police have no way
like
to really...
civilian patrols, I think is how you would translate it.
No, but the name of this campaign, the name of the campaign was, I think, Shomer HaChomot. When in Lod and Ramle and Akko, hundreds and thousands of Haredi Arabs came over Jewish neighborhoods and burned cars and attacking and shooting. And this is where it was already a wake-up call that we need to create a different model, how to protect. But today, after the massacre of October 7, we know and we believe that we will have to recruit tens of thousands of home front fighters. Okay, we will need many people because you can't rely on the army because the army is going to be busy with the battlefield. The police have no capacity to really protect, and this is really a moment of opportunity. This is part of our strategic plan. We are working together with the INSS, together with key leaders from the army and other national organizations to create a strategic plan. And Charlene, I believe that if we will do it properly, we will see very soon, in a year or two, 10,000 Haredi people who will be trained at the army and became really the fighters and to protectors of the home front, not just for Haredi cities and neighborhood, and also to help the other areas as well. And this is really an example how this opportunity, if it will be addressed properly, meaning today people are going to the army because they're all moved and want to do something, but the training is not really meaningful. Like 2 weeks training, nothing. But what we're planning to do, hopefully, is to come with a plan together with the INSS, together with other organizations, and to create a plan for the army, how to build the different model to train Haredi. The potential is we have over 150,000 Haredi men on the age of 25, 50. After yeshiva, people who are not sitting and learning in yeshiva, who are potential candidates to join. And I believe that we will see a huge change even in terms of the army. And I'll just mention, lastly, our social initiative together with HaShomer HaChadash, that we started to create a training program for Haredi volunteers. The goal, we are aiming to get 30,000 Haredi volunteers to do a security tour and protect synagogues and others, mostly unarmed, but that's going to be part of building the security concept of the home front. And that's another example, how can we really take this hard and very, very sad situation and to create a better future for us.
Thank you so much, Eli. I think what also gives me hope in this area is all the many, in addition to what you said, all the many personal connections. Like you mentioned, the Charedi, the women that came with the necklaces, or we're about to hear about an initiative where there's a lot of outreach going on. You know, I mentioned on a prior call, I think that I was at one of the hotels one day with the evacuees, and all of a sudden 20 Charedi women, they appeared with like laundry baskets, like stacked high of folded clothes.
Mhm.
They had just taken it upon themselves. They showed up at the hotel one night, they collected laundry, they went home, they did it, they folded, they brought it back. And people were amazed, and they were doing it I feel like that, to kind of answer my own question myself, is also going to have to help us sustain, because the ability to see each other as human, the ability of the Israeli, you know, who's secular maybe, and to see each other as human and as having a value add to the society, will sustain this from what was the most unimaginably hard situation, but something good that comes out of it. So thank you so much, and I hope we're gonna sort of transition into our next segment, but really, like, you have been such a good partner, friend, mentor. We've drawn upon your research, and we really appreciate you being with
Thank you very
us
much.
today, and
You.
we will
I'll
circulate
stay a
what you
few minutes to
mentioned.
listen to Hannah. I
Great,
appreciate what she's
great.
doing. Yeah, thank
So
you.
we also just wanted to showcase an amazing initiative, a volunteer initiative that sprung up very much grassroots, and introduce Hannah Iram, who we just met just a few weeks ago, but I feel like we've been, you know, WhatsApp friends at least for a while. And just I met Hannah in the back of a wig shop in Har Chotzvim, in an area in Jerusalem. In the back of a wig shop, you like open the door, and I never told you, because when I left, I got totally lost, like leaving the building, because there was anyway. You open the door, and all of a sudden, there's all these women there that are volunteering to help the refugees, to help the reservists, to help the bereaved families who have lost people, and it was amazing to behold. So Hannah's going to tell us a little bit more about Sisters of Iron, just to showcase one example of an initiative that popped up in the days following October 7th. So Hannah, thank you for being with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how it came to be. What?
I offered to walk you out then. You said you'll manage.
Never trust me about directions.
Okay, so hi. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. So Sisters of Iron actually just came about. It's very hard to explain. And it amazes me day by day, really, of how this thing worked out. It started right after October 7th. A mutual friend, a friend of a friend who's actually not Charedi, turned to her friend, who's my friend, and said, what could Charedi women do to contribute to the situation? And on the other hand, I got and my friends got tons of phone calls. I'm active in the Charedi community, so people turned to me and asked me, "Well, do you know anything? Is there anywhere that we could contribute? Anything that we could volunteer in?" And this call to be part of what's going on now, it just keeps on. It's like very, very loud in the Charedi streets and with the Charedi women all the time, and we decided, a friend of mine and me, and right now I'm doing the work. So we decided to just initiate something. And we reached out and we started with WhatsApps, and we just said, whoever could volunteer to help us manage areas for volunteers, please come to this group. And within an hour and a half, we had 300 volunteers of women who were willing to help us manage a thing, and afterwards we went and we said, so let's spread the word and get volunteers. And within like 30 hours, we had over 1,500 volunteers countrywide of Charedi women who are saying, I'm here, tell me what to do, and we'll do anything. So this is how this whole thing started. And it started like with a little bit of, like everything else started here, with a little bit of a mess. Like we didn't know exactly what we're going to do, but we knew two things that we want to hold on very tightly. One is that any volunteering that we want to do we want to do it with a connection. And like create some kind of a sisterhood. That, Charlene, you were speaking so beautifully about just the human seeing each other. So that's what a little bit our vision was. We were saying, now we're at wartime and we're going to help whatever has to be done, we're going to do. But really, we have a vision that somehow this is going to create a sisterhood. Somehow women, Charedi women are going to go out and meet not Charedi women, and not Charedi women are going to meet Charedi women, and something's going to happen with this. So really, we started with evacuated families and cooking for soldiers, and there were thousands and thousands of meals that were cooked, and thousands of packages of toys that were distributed to evacuated families, and women going to hotels and helping and talking to each other. But slowly but surely, we started going on our main thing, which is a one-to-one, woman to woman, sister to sister. That's why we call it Sisters of Iron. Helping our sisters. So it's very interesting because you were talking, Charlene, about the needs that are like the I don't remember your word, but what with the crucial things, it changes. So the first 3 weeks, it was a lot around evacuated families, and we helped countrywide. But now in the past 3 weeks, all the women that turn to us, we get women that turn to us, they fill up a form. And the women that turn to us are mostly women whose husbands were drafted to the army. And they're just women like me that had a whole household with their husbands and lived a regular life, and they were working. And now their husbands have not been home already for 5 weeks, and they're fighting, and the fear and the anxiety and holding a household on their own, together with all the challenges. Women are giving birth, and there's bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, weddings, regular challenges, special education kids, everything, family challenges, and they're doing it all by themselves. And it turns out that some of them have support in the family, but a lot of families have more than 1 or 2 or even 3 drafted, and like brothers, and then like even like the whole family just needs help. So we realized that this is right now. We got actually connected with a very amazing initiative that's called Unity in Action, and with their support and with your support, and we're actually reaching now almost 700 women that we are helping one-on-one basis. We also, the volunteer pool has grown a lot since then, and the women they fill up a form. And the volunteers also fill up a form. And then we sit in our base, and we make the matches. Woman to woman, we call up the woman and we say, we have this story, and we call up this woman and we have a volunteer. And then they go and they help each other, just like sisters, anything that a sister would do for a sister. So if it's cooking meals, coming to the house and helping with the children, coming to the house and just saying, go take a few hours break and I'll be here and make sure, organize the house, do some laundry, wash the dishes, put the kids to sleep. Just moral support, speaking on the phone. And this is just going on now for 3 weeks, and it's growing and growing and growing. And it's just amazing.
How many volunteers do you have now?
Right now we have close to 2,000 volunteers.
Wow.
And
and you match each person with a now mostly a reservist wife. And the way you described it to me is anything one sister would do for another sister. I guess we're assuming a good relationship between the sisters, but it could even be sleeping over at the house if you're able to, if you feel maybe they're nervous to sleep by them, or cooking or childcare, or because they're carrying such a toll that actually isn't much. We have on our staff even like a number of women whose husbands are in Gaza, and they can't complain. It's not even like when they come home for leave they can talk about oh my God, the bank statement. It's just, you can't do that because so the volunteers sort of take whatever kind of confidant or even just helper role would help lighten the mental load a little bit.
Exactly. They try, as you said, also the volunteers themselves already are getting we try to see how we could focus the thing that they do, that it shouldn't take over their lives, because they have their own families also. They have, most of them are married with children, and they have they're back at work, but we make windows in the week, you go twice a week for 3 hours, and we work it out with the computers how to make it work. And it's exactly they know they have this for the next 3-4 weeks. Wednesday afternoon, they go to their sister's home and they volunteer. Yeah, and like Ellie said it so beautifully, that there's such mutual contribution and such things it meets in such a beautiful way. Like I could just say from my experience, first of all, Charedi women do all the time, like in the communities, they volunteer, a woman gives birth, they cook for the other ones, like just like very communal things. It's the first time, I think, in Israeli history that as almost, it's not an organization, but as an initiative, Charedi women are helping non-religious women in their homes, going to their house and helping them. It's an amazing thing. It has amazing impact in my eyes. And also on reverse side, I mean, in the beginning, when I connected to one of the organizations that help women that their husbands have been drafted, the first reaction, I contacted them, and the first reaction was, we don't want Charedi women. I don't think Charedi women could understand women that their husbands are drafted. They don't know what it feels like. Just forget it. And I said, Charedi women are very intuitive, and they know how to take care of a home, and they know how to be a moral support. Let's give it a try. And we gave it a try. It's from both sides, and it's amazing.
It really is. And yeah, it really, really is. And very inspiring. And thank you, Hannah, for all you're doing. I know you're devoting yourself day and night. I don't think you ever sleep. You're also managing a household of how many children?
Five
children. Yeah. So well, we really appreciate you and just your devotion and all you're doing. And so thank you so much for being part and for we're so honored to be able to support your initiative and the volunteers that are doing this work. And we have in a previous communication set as a priority the spouses of reservists, because there actually haven't been seen much. I mean, now there are more programs for the evacuees. There are more, which is great, and there needs to be. But this is 300, and these are thousands, tens of hundreds of thousands of women who are not having their husbands, but also brothers, sons, multiple sons, sons-in-law. It's a lot of stress. So thank you. And I want to thank everybody for being on this really interesting program. And we're going to, as always, send out a recording. We encourage you to share it. And we will continue to share our weekly updates. We are seeing so many evolving needs. The needs keep coming in terms of the on the ground priorities, and so we'll keep you informed, and certainly we'll continue to put resources that are contributed to really fast, flexible, urgent use for the urgent priorities of the day. So thank you, and I hope everybody has a good day and a good evening for those in Israel.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye. Shabbat shalom. Bye-bye.